Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. If you've somehow missed Shadow of Mordor in the last decade, now's the perfect time to see what all the fuss was about. Released back in 2014, this game managed to make waves with its unique blend of Tolkien's universe and some seriously innovative gameplay mechanics. At its core, Shadow of Mordor is an action-adventure game set in the richly detailed world of Middle-earth, but it's not just another trip through the Shire or Rivendell. You're stepping into the shoes of Talion, a ranger with a tragic backstory involving a slaughtered family and a magical bond with a wraith. This connection gives you some pretty wild abilities and sets the stage for a revenge-fueled quest. One of the game's standout features is the Nemesis system. It's this clever mechanic that creates a dynamic world where orc captains and warlords remember your past encounters. If you get killed by an orc or run into one again after a while, they'll recognize you, mock you for your previous defeat, and may even have risen in the ranks. It's a cool way to make each encounter feel personal and impactful. The combat system is fluid and satisfying, drawing heavy inspiration from Batman Arkham series, but with its own twist. You'll find yourself stringing together slick combos and using a range of abilities to take down hordes of enemies. It's fast-paced and visually impressive, making every battle feel intense. Exploration in Shadow of Mordor is pretty engaging, with plenty of side quests and collectibles to keep you busy. The world is designed with verticality in mind, allowing you to climb and traverse the environment in a way that adds a lot to the gameplay experience. Plus, the story, while not reinventing the wheel, is solid and ties well into the broader lore of Middle-earth. Graphically, the game still holds up surprisingly well. The environments are gritty and atmospheric, capturing the dark and menacing tone of Mordor effectively. Character models and animations have aged, but the overall presentation is still immersive. The game's strength lies in its innovative systems and engaging combat, making it a memorable entry in the action-adventure genre. If you're a fan of Tolkien's world, or just love a good open-world game with some fresh mechanics, Shadow of Mordor is definitely worth a look. It's a fun, action-packed experience that's aged well and remains a standout title in the last decade. Batman Arkham Knight. Batman Arkham Knight is the third and final chapter in Rocksteady's critically acclaimed Arkham series, and it's a game that, despite being a decade old, still leaves a lasting impression. Released in 2015, it closed out the trilogy with a bang, delivering a game that truly felt like a grand finale. The game picks up where Arkham City left off, with Gotham City in chaos and Batman facing one of his most dangerous foes, yet the mysterious Arkham Knight. This new antagonist has a personal vendetta against the Dark Knight and brings a fresh layer of tension and mystery to the story. From the get-go, Arkham Knight is visually stunning. The open-world Gotham City is expansive and detailed, and you'll find yourself lost in the dark, rain-soaked streets, teeming with activity. The game's graphics were top-notch for its time, and while some elements may look dated now, the atmosphere and design still managed to captivate. The combat system, which Rocksteady perfected in the previous games, is as fluid and exhilarating as ever. You'll be diving into combat sequences that are both fast-paced and satisfying, chaining together attacks and using gadgets to outsmart and overpower enemies. There's something undeniably thrilling about taking down a group of thugs while gracefully flipping through the air. One of the most significant additions to Arkham Knight is the Batmobile. It's a cool concept in theory. You can now speed through Gotham and engage in high-octane vehicular combat. While it's a blast to drive around, the Batmobile's frequent use in combat and puzzle solving can feel a bit overdone, and some might find it a bit of a distraction from the core Batman experience. The narrative is a strong point of the game, offering a deep dive into Batman's world and relationships. The Arkham Knight himself is a well-crafted villain with a compelling backstory, and the game provides satisfying conclusions to various plot threads established in the previous games. The voice acting, led by the always impressive Kevin Conroy as Batman, is top tier and adds significant depth to the story. While the game did receive some criticism for its overuse of the Batmobile and a few repetitive side missions, it still stands as a solid conclusion to the Arkham series. In the sense of scale, the richly detailed world, and the epic story make Arkham Knight a memorable title that's worth worth revisiting even after all these years. In short, if you're a fan of Batman or just looking for a well-crafted open-world game with engaging combat and a gripping story, Batman Arkham Knight is definitely worth your time. It may be a decade old, but it's still a standout experience that showcases Rocksteady's knack for creating immersive superhero adventures. Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2 hit the scene in 2014 as a Wii U exclusive, and it's been a standout for anyone who loves over-the-top action and stylish combat. If you haven't played it yet, let me tell you it's a wild ride that has aged like fine wine. Picking up where the original Bayonetta left off, this game continues the story of the titular witch, Bayonetta. This time, she's on a mission to rescue her friend Jean from the clutches of infernal forces. If you thought the first game was a roller coaster, buckle up, because Bayonetta 2 takes things to a whole new level. From the start, you're hit with a sense of unapologetic chaos. The game throws you into intense high-speed battles where you'll be juggling enemies, dodging attacks with impossibly tight timing, and unleashing a dizzying array of combos. The combat system is deep and rewarding, with Bayonetta's arsenal of weapons and abilities allowing for some seriously creative combat styles. The addition of new weapons and techniques keeps the gameplay fresh and engaging. Graphically, Bayonetta 2 is a feast for the eyes. The Wii U's hardware might not hold up to the power of the latest consoles, but the game's vibrant, over-the-top visual style ensures that it still looks great. From the demon-infested cityscapes to the otherworldly realms, each environment is crafted with such detail that it's easy to get lost in the game's world. One of the game's highlights is its boss battles, which are nothing short of epic. These encounters often feel like they're pulled straight from a blockbuster action movie, complete with giant monsters and dramatic high-stakes showdowns. The game's sense of scale and spectacle is impressive, and each boss fight is memorable in its own right. The story, while not the deepest or most serious, is packed with humor and charm. Bayonetta herself is a fantastic character, confident, witty, and unapologetically badass. The narrative doesn't take itself too seriously, which fits perfectly with the game's over-the-top style. Despite its critical acclaim, Bayonetta 2 is sometimes overlooked due to its initial Wii U exclusivity, but if you missed it on that platform, you're in luck. It's also available on the Switch now, which means you can take this action-packed spectacle on the go. Overall, Bayonetta 2 is a fantastic game that delivers everything fans of the first game could want and more. It's a celebration of stylish action and exuberant design, and it's well worth your time if you enjoy games that don't hold back. Ryse, Son of Rome. Okay, let's dive into Ryse, Son of Rome, a game that's like the epic action movie of video games, complete with all the gladiatorial grandeur you could ask for. It's got that big cinematic vibe written all over it. Picture this, you're a Roman soldier fighting through the ancient world, all while the game tries to give you the most dramatic and over-the-top experience possible. First off, the visuals, man, they're pretty stunning, especially for when it came out. The game was a launch title for the Xbox One, so it's got that early next-gen sheen. The environments and character models look like they've been pulled straight from a Hollywood blockbuster. The blood and gore are right up there with the best of them, making every fight look like a brutal ballet. Now, the combat, it's pretty much the definition of button mashing with a few more bells and whistles. You've got this whole press the right buttons at the right time mechanic going on, which can be both satisfying and a bit repetitive. It's cool at first, feeling like you're right in the middle of a grand arena, but it can start to feel a little monotonous as the game goes on. The story. Well, it's a classic revenge tale. You're fighting for justice and glory in the midst of political intrigue and betrayal. It's not exactly breaking new ground, but it's engaging enough to keep you invested. The voice acting and motion capture do a decent job of bringing the drama to life. Even if the plot sometimes feels like it's borrowing from every epic historical drama you've ever seen. One of the highlights is definitely the finishers, those brutal, over-the-top kill moves that let you take down enemies in style. They never get old, and there's something inherently satisfying about watching your character deliver the final blow in such a cinematic fashion. Overall, Ryse Son of Rome is like that really flashy action movie you watch for the spectacle rather than the substance. It's a fun ride, and if you're into big dramatic battles and don't mind a bit of repetition, it's worth checking out. Just go in with the mindset that it's more about the spectacle than groundbreaking gameplay. Quantum Break. Alright, let's talk about Quantum Break, developed by Remedy Entertainment, the same folks behind Alan Wake and Control. Quantum Break is kind of like a mind-bending mashup of a sci-fi thriller and a time-bending action game. I remember when this game first dropped, it was all about that unique mix of gameplay and live-action episodes, which was a pretty ambitious move back then. You play as Jack Joyce, who gets caught in a time experiment gone wrong. The whole deal with time manipulation, freezing enemies, rewinding bullets, and all that cool stuff makes combat feel pretty fresh. It's not just about the mechanics though, it's also about the story. The live action parts might seem a bit cheesy now, but they added this extra layer of depth and immersion that was pretty novel. One thing that stands out to me is the way the story branches out based on your choices. It's like watching a TV show where you get to control the action. And despite its age, the game's visuals still pop thanks to some slick effects and a solid art direction. Sure, the concept might not be as mind-blowing as it was in 2014, but it's still a great example of how blending different media can create a unique experience. If you missed Quantum Break the first time around, now's a good time to revisit it. It's one of those games that's aged well and still offers a good chunk of entertainment. Plus, it's fun to see how some of those storytelling techniques hold up in today's gaming landscape. Watch Dogs? Watch Dogs turns 10, and it's wild to think about how it set the stage for a new kind of open world game back in 2014. This one's a bit of a nostalgic trip, especially if you remember when the idea of hacking your way through a city was as fresh as it gets. You step into the shoes of Aiden Pierce, a hacker with a vendetta and a knack for turning every piece of tech into his personal playground. The game is set in a fictionalized version of Chicago, and let me tell you, the whole hacking mechanic was pretty groundbreaking at the time. You could mess with traffic lights, eavesdrop on conversations, and even turn security cameras into your own little network of intel. The story is kind of a classic revenge tale Aiden's after the people who messed with his family. It's not the most original plot, but it serves as a decent backdrop to the game's tech-heavy gameplay. The real star here was the ability to hack almost anything, which made you feel like you were part of this high-tech espionage thriller. Graphically, it was a stunner for its time, although looking back now, you might notice a few rough spots. Still, the city felt alive and reactive, and the hacking system was both innovative and a lot of fun. You could choose to be a stealthy hacker or go full throttle with the action, which gave the game a lot of replay value. Watch Dogs might not be the smoothest ride compared to its sequels, but it's definitely worth checking out if you want to see where the whole hacking and open world craze started. It's like taking a trip back to when this kind of gameplay was still a cool new idea, and it's fun to see how far the series has come since then. Wolfstein The New Order. Wolfstein The New Order is a perfect example of how to breathe new life into a classic franchise. 10 years old now, this game made a huge splash in 2014 by reimagining the Wolfenstein series with a fresh perspective and a whole lot of punch. Set in an alternate history where the Nazis won World War II, the game drops you into a dystopian nightmare filled with futuristic weaponry and oppressive regimes. You play as BJ Blazkowicz, a grizzled soldier trying to take down the Nazi regime with a mix of sheer muscle and a surprisingly deep narrative. The story here is pretty remarkable. It's not just about blowing up bad guys though, there's plenty of that. It's also about exploring the personal struggles of Blazkowicz as he navigates a world where hope is in short supply. The game weaves in some genuinely touching moments and strong character development, which is something you might not expect from a shooter.
Come in, Berlin. What's your status?
We're in bad shape, Captain.
The gameplay is a blast literally. You've got a range of weapons at your disposal, from classic guns to some truly outlandish stuff that feels like it belongs in a sci-fi movie. The combat is intense and satisfying, and the level design is top-notch, offering a variety of ways to tackle each mission. You can go full Rambo or sneak around and take down enemies quietly, it's up to you. Visually, the game holds up well with its gritty, stylized aesthetic that fits the alternate history setting perfectly. And the soundtrack? It's a blast, pumping up the adrenaline as you tear through the ranks of the Nazi army. Wolfenstein The New Order might be a decade old, but it's still a fantastic ride. It's a reminder of how well classic franchises can be revitalized with a mix of great storytelling and solid gameplay. If you haven't played it yet, or if it's been a while since you last did, it's definitely worth revisiting. InFamouse Second Son. InFamouse Second Son turns 10 this year, and it's a great time to look back at this gem of an open world game. Launched in 2014, it was a PlayStation 4 launch title that managed to show off the new console's capabilities in some pretty impressive ways. In this game, you step into the shoes of Delsin Rowe, a guy who suddenly discovers he has superpowers. Delsin's abilities are all about controlling different elements, smoke, neon, and video, among others. Each power has its own set of moves and perks, which makes gameplay really diverse and engaging. Plus, the visual effects when you're using these powers are nothing short of stunning. The story is set in a near future Seattle, and while it does tread some familiar superhero territory, government conspiracies, moral dilemmas, and the whole with great power comes great responsibility shtick, it's done with a lot of style. Delsin is a pretty interesting protagonist with a mix of charm and rebelliousness that keeps things entertaining, and the game gives you choices that actually matter, affecting how the story unfolds and how characters react to you. The open world of Seattle is not just a backdrop but a playground. Climbing walls, running across rooftops, and using your powers to navigate the city make for a dynamic experience. The side missions are pretty fun, and there's a lot to do if you like collecting stuff and exploring. Graphically, InFamouse Second Son was a stunner back in the day, showcasing the PS4's power with detailed environments and flashy effects. The soundtrack and voice acting are also top-notch, adding to the overall immersive experience. Overall, InFamouse Second Son holds up well after a decade. It's a fun ride with great powers, a solid story, and an impressive open world to explore. If you're into superhero games or just looking for a good time with some cool powers, this one's worth checking out. Telltale's The Walking Dead. This episodic adventure game kicked off in 2012 and really set the bar for narrative-driven games with its gripping storytelling and complex characters. You play as Lee Everett, a convicted felon who finds himself in the middle of the zombie apocalypse, but the real heart of the game is Clementine, a young girl Lee takes under his wing. The bond between Lee and Clementine is central to the story, and it's one of the most emotionally charged relationships in gaming. Watching Clementine grow and develop throughout the series is a journey in itself, and it's something that really sticks with you long after the credits roll. The game is divided into 5 episodes, each one pushing the story forward with tough choices and moral dilemmas. The choices you make really matter, affecting the story and how characters interact with you. It's a game where every decision feels heavy, and the consequences can be both heartbreaking and rewarding.
One we're looking for is still in the neighborhood.
Oh shit.
Graphically, it's got that distinct Telltale style, kind of like a moving comic book with its cel-shaded art. It might not have been the most technically advanced game at the time, but the art style suited the tone of the game perfectly and helped to create an atmosphere that felt both gritty and personal. Even after a decade, Telltale's The Walking Dead is still a standout in the world of narrative games. It's a powerful reminder of how video games can tell stories in deeply moving ways, and it's definitely worth revisiting if you haven't played it in a while. If you're a fan of stories that pack an emotional punch and make you think, this one's a must-play. Beyond Two Souls. This game, created by Quantic Dream, is like an interactive movie with some really intriguing elements. It's been a bit of a mixed bag for some, but there's definitely something special about it. You follow the life of Jodie Holmes, who has a unique psychic connection to an invisible entity named Aiden. The story dives into Jodie's life from childhood to adulthood, with a lot of focus on her struggles and the supernatural events tied to her connection with Aiden. It's all about emotional depth and personal experience, and the narrative unfolds in a non-linear fashion, so you're jumping between different moments of Jodie's life, piecing together her story as you go.
But they know only you know how to deal with what lies beyond the rift.
It opened a passage?
Gameplay-wise, it's a mix of quick-time events and exploration. You'll be making decisions that affect how the story unfolds, but a lot of the experience is about being immersed in the narrative rather than traditional game mechanics. The supernatural elements add a unique twist, with Aiden's abilities allowing you to interact with the environment in ways that are both fascinating and sometimes a bit puzzling. Visually, the game has a cinematic quality with impressive graphics and a soundtrack that complements the emotional tone of the story. It's not the most action-packed game out there, but it makes up for it with a compelling narrative and a deep dive into Jodie's life. If you're into games that focus heavily on story and character, Beyond Two Souls is worth checking out. It might not be for everyone, especially if you're looking for traditional gameplay, but its narrative richness and emotional depth make it a standout piece in the interactive drama genre.
The test is over. You need to...
Just Cause 2. This is hands down my favorite game from the series. Sure, there are better sequels with updated graphics and features, but there's just something about the second installment that keeps players coming back. It harks back to a time when there weren't any complications or highly advanced features. We all just loved simple exploration and blasting enemy bases. My favorite thing was driving the best cars at high speeds. It was amazing to take a break and free roam in the open world. The Just Cause series is known for its massive destruction. As a player, you are a walking mayhem, capable of immense destruction with insane gadgets and weapons.
You got the memory cards, so I guess we're still one step ahead.
And where does that step take us?
The agency's last contact here on Penang.
However, one thing I would like to point out is that sometimes it gets repetitive. You can't really play the entire series without feeling a bit bored, as after a while the enemy bases start to look all the same. So, it's much better to play one game to your heart's content without feeling the repetition. The only reason I mentioned the second part is that it was when the series was at its peak. Nothing was too extraordinary. The best example I can give you is the Fast and Furious series. You could say that Just Cause 2 is like Fast 5, while the other parts are filled with more action, more features, and advanced graphics and visuals. However, in 2024, it would be awesome to revisit the second part.
For you. I'm not here to help you. Unless you can help me find Tom Shannon. What? I thought it was with you.
If you are highly interested in the series, definitely go with the best looking title, which is, in my opinion, Just Cause 3. Nevertheless, I just want to give more love to the OG installment because I have so many great memories with it. I was skipping classes just to play this game. It was such a great feeling to put on music, drive super fast cars, or destroy enemy bases.
From you, Jade Tan, here's girl, right? Huh. You must be Spooks. Spooks. Hope
Prototype 2. To be honest, I actually prefer the original Prototype. No matter what, I always love to talk about the original, but I have already mentioned it in several other videos. So, just for now, let's look at some of the plus points of the sequel. Also, if you ever decide to play the series, make sure to start with the original. It's hands down the best one. The sequel works on the original's concept and makes some new changes. For me, the biggest reason I prefer the OG is because the creators added a different character in the second part. I won't spoil anything, but there's a major role for the original protagonist Alex Mercer in the sequel, which is not the ending I was hoping for. Overall, you could say that Prototype 2 is a must-play only if you have played the first part. Now, talking about the core aspects of the game, Prototype isn't anything extraordinary. What made the game so much more fun are the powers and the options to do anything in free roam. This is the only game besides InFamouse Second Son that introduced some of the craziest superpowers. I had a blast while free roaming and using all my powers for various purposes. You're basically a superhuman in this game who somehow got his powers because of a virus. Now, you can transform your hands into various destructive weapons to cause havoc. Prototype 2 brings closure to the main storyline, and as much as I want another sequel, it just wouldn't feel right. The main story is sort of ended. So, if the creators make a third part, they must add a new main character or create a spin-off. The Prototype series is one of the most underrated gems out there that not many players have tried. Far Cry 3. If I remember correctly, this was my first Far Cry game. When I decided to play this series, I specifically googled which part was the best. I can confidently say that the game did not disappoint at all. I know there's a great audience who favors the newer parts, but for me, nothing beats the OG third and second Far Cry. We have already covered the second part in our older videos, so for now, let's just talk about the greatness of Far Cry 3. To be honest, not everyone is going to like this game. It's one of those games that you must complete to fully appreciate the developer's hard work. In 2024, we have plenty of games with better graphics and outstanding features, so it's not easy to play such an old game. However, despite all this, I just want to say that you will never be disappointed after finishing the main story. Seeing how the main character evolves throughout the story is one of the most amazing aspects of the game. A game that starts off with you just wanting to survive and get home seamlessly changes into more of a psychological and physical challenge. Every moment feels right, and every cutscene feels accurate, even though the entire concept is changing. When it comes to the open world, it's not that bad. Sure, it's not at the level of modern games, but we're talking about revisiting old games. The weapons, open world, driving, and everything else are enough to give you one hell of a blast. Red Dead Redemption 1. Now every one of you must have played Red Dead Redemption 2, which is the greatest game of all time, but RDR 1 also deserves more attention. The main reason you should play this game is to continue the storyline. Despite its lower end visuals and graphics, it's an awesome experience to bring closure to John's story. The game also offers some familiar faces, and you will see how other gang members are living after several years. If you're playing this game after RDR 2, then, in my opinion, there isn't much besides seeing how the story turned out. You will spend most of your time toward completion just to see the ending. On the other hand, if you played this game before RDR 2, you will surely appreciate how much of a masterpiece it is. Shadow of the Colossus. I'm sure that not all of you have heard about this game. It's crazy that after all this time, we still haven't gotten an official PC release. Shadow of the Colossus is an extremely underrated game with huge potential and is loved by many players. No matter what anyone says, my favorite highlight is the storyline. Nothing tops the story, whether it's the graphics, the open world, or the monsters. The overall story is so engaging that it will compel you to complete the game and see the ending. It's a really heartfelt experience. To put it briefly, as a player, your main goal is to hunt down the creatures known as Colossi. So, you are basically spending time looking for these gigantic monsters in a vast open world, which is kind of empty. I mean, it's not your usual Red Dead or Witcher open world. Instead, the game drops you into a somewhat barren open world where there's just land and rocks, with the task of hunting monsters. However, it's not as bad as it sounds. You will be thrilled after realizing how impressive the game actually is, and how it captivates you with its engaging features. Nevertheless, there's no big reason why I included this game other than to highlight its greatness. I just wanted to mention it so that more players find out about this underrated gem. The players who have completed this game all have different opinions, but one thing is confirmed. The game is amazing from gameplay to story, from visuals to music. Everything is top-notch. Let's hope they release it on different platforms, as for now, it's only available on PS4. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. It's no lie that the fourth part is the greatest of all time. After that, we all have our different preferences about the best Uncharted game. For me, Among Thieves showcases a lot of action and features a great storyline. When you think about what to play next after Uncharted 4 and want that same treasure seeker feeling, the second part is the best choice. Everything flows seamlessly. You will never feel disconnected or wonder what's going on in the story. The game covers all the major aspects, such good characters, on-point dialogues, and beautiful scenery. You could say that after the first game, the developers did a great job perfecting everything and even adding some advanced features for the players. It's an epic ride filled with thrills and action. From start to end, you will love how Nathan Drake evolves and the story progresses.
Oh, what?
She broke your heart.
Oh, please.
She did,
Hey, you know
didn't
what?
she?
Maybe I broke hers.
Oh yes, Casanova.
I particularly love two things, the action scenes and the locations. If you specifically want to play another Uncharted game in 2024, then the second one will give you an amazing experience. So, it's great for those players who haven't played any Uncharted game besides the fourth one to try the older titles. There's no better time to play the entire Uncharted series and experience different moments of Nathan's journey.
The one in the middle of all the gunfire and explosions.
Lucky us.
Nate, that's right where Lazarevich is camped. I was hoping we'd be headed in the opposite direction.
Well, desperate times, right?
Crysis. Next on our list is Crysis. When it was released in 2007, Crysis set a new benchmark for graphical fidelity and game design. Crysis is set in a near future where you play as Nomad, a soldier equipped with a powerful nanosuit that grants superhuman abilities. The game starts with a rescue mission on a fictional island, which soon turns into a fight against alien invaders. The most revolutionary aspect of Crysis was its graphics. Developed by Crytek, the game used the CryEngine 2, which delivered photorealistic environments, dynamic lighting, and incredible physics. The level of detail in the lush, open-world island setting was unprecedented at the time. Trees reacted realistically to explosions, water looked and behaved like real water, and the game's draw distance allowed for breathtaking vistas. The nanosuit introduced gameplay mechanics that were ahead of their time. It allowed players to switch between different mode strength for enhanced melee attacks, speed for quick movement, armor for increased defense, and cloak for invisibility. This versatility gave players multiple ways to approach objectives and combat situations, encouraging creativity and tactical thinking. Crysis also featured a highly interactive environment. Players could destroy buildings, use the environment to their advantage, and engage in large-scale battles that felt dynamic and unscripted. The game's AI was also notable for its time, providing a challenging and realistic enemy behavior. The open-ended nature of the game design allowed for multiple approaches to missions. Whether you preferred stealth, direct combat, or using the environment to your advantage, Crysis provided the tools and freedom to play your way. Well anyways, let me know your PC specs in the comments, and can it run Crysis? Resident Evil 4. Next on our list is Resident Evil 4. Originally released in 2005, this game revolutionized the survival horror genre and set new standards for third-person shooters. In Resident Evil 4, you play as Leon Kennedy, a government agent tasked with rescuing the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, from a mysterious cult in rural Spain. The game's narrative is filled with intense action, unexpected twists, and memorable characters, making it a standout entry in the Resident Evil series. One of the most groundbreaking aspects of Resident Evil 4 was its over-the-shoulder camera perspective. This new camera angle provided a more immersive and dynamic gameplay experience, allowing players to aim and shoot with greater precision. This innovation influenced countless third-person shooters that followed, establishing a new standard for the genre. The game's combat mechanics were also revolutionary. Resident Evil 4 introduced context-sensitive controls and quick-time events, adding layers of interactivity and tension to the gameplay. The variety of enemies, each requiring different strategies to defeat, kept the combat fresh and engaging. The introduction of the Las Plagas parasites added a new dimension to the horror, making enemies more unpredictable and dangerous. Resident Evil 4's level design was another standout feature. The game seamlessly blended linear and open-ended areas, creating a sense of exploration and discovery. The environments were richly detailed, from eerie villages and ancient castles to underground laboratories, each with its own atmosphere and challenges. The game's pacing was masterful, balancing intense action sequences with moments of suspense and puzzle solving. This kept players constantly on their toes, never knowing what to expect next. The boss battles were particularly memorable, each requiring unique tactics and offering thrilling encounters. Visually, Resident Evil 4 was ahead of its time. The character models, environments, and special effects were highly detailed and immersive, pushing the hardware capabilities of the consoles it was released on. The sound design also contributed to the game's atmosphere, with eerie ambient noises and a haunting musical score enhancing the sense of dread and tension. If you're a fan of survival horror and haven't played Resident Evil 4, it's a game you shouldn't overlook. Its innovative gameplay mechanics, immersive design, and intense action set a new benchmark for the genre and continue to influence games today. Dive into this classic and experience a game that was truly ahead of its time. Max Payne. Released in 2001, this game is renowned for its groundbreaking narrative style and innovative gameplay mechanics. In Max Payne, you play as the titular character, a former NYPD detective turned vigilante after his family is brutally murdered by drug addicts. The game's story is a dark and gripping tale of revenge, conspiracy, and betrayal, told through a series of noir-style graphic novel panels and voiceovers that draw you into Max's troubled world. One of the most revolutionary features of Max Payne was its introduction of bullet time, a mechanic that allows players to slow down time during combat. This mechanic, inspired by the slow-motion action sequences in movies like The Matrix, gave players the ability to dodge bullets and take out enemies with stylish precision. Bullet time added a strategic layer to the gunplay and became a defining feature of the game, influencing many action games that followed. The game's combat system was fluid and dynamic. Max could perform acrobatic moves such as diving sideways while shooting, adding a cinematic quality to the action sequences. The combination of bullet time and Max's agility made every gunfight feel intense and satisfying. Max Payne's narrative delivery was also ahead of its time. The use of graphic novel-style cutscenes, complete with voiceovers and atmospheric music, created a distinctive and immersive storytelling experience. The game's dark and gritty tone, combined with Max's internal monologues, gave it a unique noir feel that set it apart from other action games of the era. Visually, Max Payne pushed the limits of what was possible at the time. The detailed environments, realistic character models, and impressive special effects, especially the bullet time sequences, were highly advanced for its release year. The game's attention to detail in recreating the urban landscapes of New York City added to the overall immersion. The sound design in Max Payne was also exceptional. The game featured a moody and atmospheric soundtrack that complemented the dark narrative. The voice acting, particularly James McCaffrey's performance as Max Payne, was top-notch and added depth to the character. If you're a fan of action games with a strong narrative focus, Max Payne is a game you shouldn't overlook. Its innovative gameplay mechanics, compelling story, and cinematic presentation set new standards for the genre and continue to influence games today. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Let's talk about Rise of the Tomb Raider. Released in 2015, this game really raised the bar for action-adventure games with its amazing storytelling, jaw-dropping visuals, and smooth gameplay. In Rise of the Tomb Raider, you follow Lara Croft on a quest to find the lost city of Crysis and uncover the secret of immortality. The story is gripping and personal, diving deep into Lara's journey as an explorer and her battle against the sinister organization Trinity. I was hooked from the start, especially with all the historical and mythical elements woven into the plot. One thing that blew me away was the game's visuals. The environments are stunningly detailed, from the icy Siberian landscapes to lush forests and ancient tombs. The dynamic weather and realistic lighting made every scene come alive. I often found myself just standing around, taking in the breathtaking views, Lara herself is beautifully animated with expressive features that make the story even more engaging. The gameplay is a perfect mix of exploration, combat, and puzzle solving. The tombs and crypts are some of my favorite parts. They're filled with challenging puzzles that make you think and use the environment to your advantage. Solving these puzzles felt incredibly satisfying, like being a real adventurer uncovering hidden secrets. Combat is smooth and fun. You can go stealthy with a bow and silent takedowns, or go all out with guns blazing. I love the flexibility in approaching different situations. The crafting system adds a cool layer of strategy too. You can make your own ammo, traps, and other gadgets from materials you find. It's a bit like survival mode, and it kept me constantly on my toes. Exploration in this game is deeply rewarding. There are so many hidden collectibles, side missions, and pieces of lore to find. I spent hours just roaming around, discovering new things and learning more about the world. The semi-open world design is perfect. It encourages you to go back and explore previously visited areas with new tools and abilities to find every secret. The skill tree system is another great feature. You can customize Lara's abilities to fit your playstyle. Whether you're into stealth, combat, or exploration, there's a way to tailor Lara's skills to match. This made me want to replay the game and try out different builds. If you love action-adventure games with a strong focus on exploration and puzzles, Rise of the Tomb Raider is a must-play. The visuals are stunning, the story is captivating, and the gameplay is top-notch.